Hi, this is a video on Bohr's model of the atom and then mostly on the quantum mechanical model of the atom and quantum numbers. So Bohr definitely was a huge part of our current quantum mechanical model of the atom. He figured out, the electrons have to be in these fixed energy levels, and that they couldn't be anywhere in between. It really helped us with the current model. He really tried hard. His model only works for hydrogen. So when you were possibly in ninth grade, when we draw, and it's also how we did it on the pogo, whenever we draw it like this, that's a Bohr model. And sometimes we still use it even though we know it isn't really true, just because it's easier to understand. So I think you guys from the previous lessons know the Bohr model. It's just, those electrons have to be in their certain energy levels, n equals 2, n equals 3. And then the transitions between them are what give us those bright line spectra. And he could explain everything for hydrogen, but then once it went past hydrogen, the model didn't work anymore. So we do use the quantum mechanical model. And this is based on math and probability of finding electrons. And also, how we know that light is a wave, but also made up of particles, depending on how we're trying to understand something. Similarly, we know electrons are particles, but they also behave like waves. So this is all based on electrons being waves. So the allowable energy levels really have to do with specific frequencies of the electron waves. You don't really need to write anything here, but just appreciate that electrons have that dual nature, just like light. So one thing is, new probably to us is we don't know exactly where electrons are. They're not doing these perfect little orbits. And we have something we call the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So if we try to look at an electron, we're going to use light, which has made up of photons. And a photon is a particle of light that's about the same size as an electron. So what it'll do is, if you're looking at it and trying to locate it, you're going to bump it, and it's not going to be where you thought it was. So it's impossible for us to know exactly where electrons are. But we can look at where we think they're probably at, so more based on probability, which leads us to atomic orbitals. And an atomic orbital is not an orbit, it's just a region, a three-dimensional region in space where the electron's likely to be found. So if you see the picture that I have here, it's like a scatter plot, wherever it's darker, where there's more dots, that's where the electron is more likely to be found. And then out on the edges where they're less dots is where the electron isn't as likely to be found, but it's still possible. So this is where you're going to want to use your note sheet and fill that out with me. So there's 4 quantum numbers, N, L, M sub L, and M sub S. So they're not even numbers, they're letters. But the first quantum number is called the principal quantum number, and what it tells us is the energy level of the electrons, which essentially it's telling us the distance it is then from the nucleus. So if you have a larger n, like n equals 4, that's going to be farther from the nucleus than a smaller, like n equals 1. So the options available are just positive integers starting at 1. And then if you can sketch a really simple periodic table, the elements that are in the first period or row, those are always going to have their highest electrons are in n equals 1, the first energy level. Second period, n equals 2. So those elements have electrons in the first energy level and the second energy level, and so on. So the period, the row on the periodic table, corresponds to the energy level or the principal quantum number n. I'm just making sure I've told you everything I want to. I think that is probably enough. So we will move on then to the angular momentum, or angular quantum number. We use like a loopy kind of L for this. So this quantum number tells you the sublevel or the shapes that are within the principal energy level. So this is where it's really different than just having those orbits. So when I'm in n equals 3, the third level away from the nucleus, I'm not going to have orbits, but I'm going to have these shapes that you see over here. And these are the shapes based on math and probability of where the electrons are likely to be. So how do we figure out L? L is going to equal 0 to n minus 1. And L, let me think about how I should say this. L is going to be equal to 0, 1, 2, and 3. At this point, and you'll see that this is directly related to the periodic table, we don't have an L greater than 3. L, so if I am in the first principal energy level, n equals 1, then L equals 0. And that corresponds up here to this S shape, which is a sphere. If n equals 2, then we still have the L equals 0, but we also then have n equals 2, so 2 minus 1, we'll have L equals 1. So then when we do have L equals 1, we have the P-shaped sublevels. So in the second energy level, there is a 2s, so a sphere that's a little bit bigger than the 1s sphere, so further from the nucleus. And then you also have a set of 2p sublevels. And the p's are what I have in yellow. They're kind of like dumbbells where, you know, if you were curling it, it can go on the x, y, or z axis. So n equals 1, the first energy level, if you go into that level, there's only a sphere for the electrons. If n equals 2, there is a sphere. It's a little bit bigger than the n equals 1, than the 1s sphere. And you have some 2p shaped sublevels. So if n equals 3, now we know we still have L equals 0, L equals 1, but now we have L equals 2. So L equals 2 corresponds up here to the D-shaped sublevels. And you can see these are a lot fancier. They're kind of clover-shaped. And, you know, this one here is different than all of them. I call that one dual pacifier because it kind of looks like a pacifier for a baby. But anyways, so if L equals 0, and when you're in the third energy level, that means you're going to have a 3s. So you'll have a sphere that's further from the nucleus than the 2s sphere and the 1s sphere. You're also going to have a 3p set of the dumbbell-shaped sublevel, and you're going to now have the 3d appear. So, and I will show you a way like how these all look as they get filled. It's pretty weird, but I'll show you eventually, so it should make more sense. So, and then lastly, if the n equals 4, so you're in the fourth energy level, then you have the first time you will have L equals 3. And L equals 3 is the F fancy shaped sublevels. You would never have to draw the F or the D, but you should be able to draw or kind of explain the spheres, the S sublevel, and the P is that set of dumbbells. So, and over here on our notes, so if it's spherical sublevel shape, then it's L equals 0, dumbbell is L equals 1, the D shape is L equals 2, and the fancy F's is L equals 3. So that is the second quantum number that tells us the shape of the sublevels that are within the main energy level of the atom. So the electrons are actually found in these three-dimensional shapes. which leads us to the next quantum number is m sub L. And this is the magnetic quantum number. It tells us how many orbitals there are. And remember, an orbital is a three-dimensional region in space where you're likely to find the electrons. So each of those sublevels have orbitals in them. And this quantum number is how we can figure that out. So m sub L is going to equal the negative L to positive L, the angular quantum number, and it includes 0. So if we're talking about L equals 0, remember that's the spherical shape, then m sub L equals 0. And that's just one number, so there's only going to be one orbital. And notice the S, it only has one way it can be in three-dimensional space. So there's one orbital in any S sublevel. If L equals 1, remember we're talking about the P, then your m sub L is going to equal -1, 0, and +1. This is 3 orbitals. There's 3 numbers there. And notice the P has 3 different ways that it can orient itself in space. So there's 1, 2, 3 orbitals in the P sublevel shape. If L equals 2, so now we're talking about the D, you can look up here and we should get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I'll show you and prove it to you. If we take this m sub L is going to equal -2, -1, 0, +1, +2. So there's really 5 orbitals, 5 different ways that the D's appear, those D sublevels. So if L equals 3 for the F, the m sub L will equal -3, -2, -1, 0, +1, +2, +3. This is 7. So there's 7 orbitals. There's 7 F shapes when we look at the image there. So that is the second quantum number. Sorry, the third quantum number. And now we're going to talk about the last one. So the last quantum number is m sub S. This is the spin. The options available, so electrons are going to spin, and they have a value of +1/2 or -1/2. And what that means is they spin, like one of them will spin up and one of them will spin down. When they're together in an orbital, they're both negative, and this allows them to coexist together. Another thing is just to say that no 2 electrons can have the same 4 quantum numbers. So every electron has 4 quantum numbers that describe where it's at. So I will give you an example here. So we draw orbitals as boxes. So remember, the orbitals are the place where the electrons actually are. The electrons are these arrows. So this is showing, this electron is spinning up and this one's spinning down. So these 2 electrons are located exactly in the same region. So they're going to have, let's say this is a 2s orbital. Their n is 2 for both of them. L is 0, because L0 is for what we use for the S sublevel. M sub L is going to equal 1. And then m sub S is +1/2 for one of them and -1/2 for the other. So they have the same first 3 quantum numbers, but after that they do not have all 4 in common.